Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, Mangotology. For today's video, I wanted to react to myself on Australian television exposing Scientology and give you guys my updated thoughts and commentary regarding what I discussed back a few years ago when I went on Australian television. Now, to kind of get you guys a little bit up to speed about how I ended up on Australian television was that I had a producer reach out to me. It was probably within the first couple months, I would say, of my big YouTube video that first came out that went viral, and a lot of different news stations and people were writing to me about having me come on and discuss Scientology on their shows. Now, I pretty much just wanted to tell my story my way on the internet, and I wasn't really necessarily planning to do too many different appearances on TV or on the news or any of that sort of stuff. But once I saw that I started kind of momentum of exposing Scientology and other people were coming forward and people writing to me, people were really wanting to know a lot more. So I decided to start speaking out and continuing to tell my story to people who have inquired about interviews and that sort of thing. So I got an inquiry from Studio 10 in Australia. Now, Studio 10 is kind of like a TV show like The View, I guess you can say, maybe, is a close comparison. And they wrote to me saying, like, we want you on the show, whatever, and we're going to bring you to the studio. Now, I thought I was going to, like, Australia. Like, I was so excited thinking, like, oh, yeah, they're going to fly me down to Australia, and I'm going to sit down. Like, I wasn't thinking that they were necessarily going to, like, Skype me into the show, but they did say it was a live show. Now, I like doing things like pre-recorded, that sort of thing, and, you know, in case, you know, someone asks a crazy question or something like that, I can kind of redirect it, because especially with Scientology, you don't know if you're going on as a joke, if they really want to know about Scientology, or, you know, the whole thing is just to get, you know, views for their show, if they asking questions about, like, the celebrities and the Tom Cruise and that sort of stuff, and I try to stay away from that as much as possible. So again, I accepted to go on the show, and then they gave me the address of the studio. Now, it was drivable. It was in, like, Culver City or something like that, which is probably 30 minutes from where I live, 40 minutes maybe, something like that. And I drove down to the studio wearing this. I was wearing the purple shirt, the silver tie, thinking I was so stylish going on Australian television. When I walked in the studio, the first thing I saw was, like, the feed for the show. Stephen Mango is coming on to discuss the underworld that is the Church of Scientology, their celebrity membership, and revealing things you've never told anyone before. And I'm thinking, like, oh my god, like the pressure was on. Like, they were having, like, ads running about it, you know, advertising me being on the show, and I'd never really done, like, actually I'd never done a news appearance before this. So it was still a pretty cool experience. Like, I met, like, their projection sort of guy who, like, mic'd me up and got me ready to go on the show. And then they put me in this, like, little room by myself, and a little microphone on my tie, whatever, and I'm just sitting there, and, like, you're watching a feed, but it's a little bit on delay. Like, we all know, like, we watch, like, CNN or any of those sort of channels, or Fox News or whatever, and they cut into people, and then it's on, like, a delay for a couple seconds. So as watching the show, you know, it's on a bit of a delay. So, like, you may see me reacting a couple seconds later or after, and that's always awkward, like, with television and that sort of thing. And then if you start talking, you may start cutting them off. So it's always, like, that weird, like, act that you have to play to really listen to someone finish their sentence and then start talking. But it was nerve-wracking. Just in the room, like, okay, well, like, cue you want to go live. And before they went live with me, they're like, we're going to do, like, a thing, and you're just going to be waving. So then they'll be like, okay, and our next guest is Stephen Mango. And they cut to me, and they're like, wave, wave, wave. And I'm just like doing that sort of thing, and I'm like, oh, this is so cheesy. Like, I'm just, like, waving at people, like, I don't know, it was really strange. And they'll say, okay, like, they'll just start, you know, introducing you, whatever, and then you just kind of go from there, right? So this is me on Studio 10 Australia, and so we're going to be watching and reacting to this together, and here we go.
Stephen Mango arrived in Los Angeles as an aspiring actor, bright-eyed and looking for stardom, but instead he got sucked into what he calls Hollywood's most dangerous, secretive and famous cult.
Dangerous, secretive, and famous. So as they are doing this introduction, like, I'm watching it on a monitor, I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm gonna be on Australian TV. Like, this is, like, no joke. Like, they have, like, a whole segment about it. Like, I had no idea what to expect, or I didn't even know who these guys were, and it was pretty nerve-wracking to do this for my first big interview.
The world of Scientology intrigues us all. Its glamorous followers are some of the biggest names in Hollywood. But behind the world of glitz and glamour lies a dark, money-grabbing, suppressive world.
I love that. A dark, money-grubbing, suppressive world. Which is true, but the only thing I don't like what the news does, just like the news media in general about Scientology, is they always want to portray it in some sort of glamorous way, like the Tom Cruise, the, Will Smith, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, those guys are in. There's probably 3 or 4 of them, but think of how many celebrities and politicians and people in the world that are important that aren't involved in a cult like Scientology, So it may give people the wrong impression, thinking that if I'm in Scientology, it's like bougie and fancy and cool, and it's really not that at all. You're reading books from a science fiction writer from like 1950, so it's really not that glamorous.
Stephen Mango fell into this world and it nearly destroyed him. He's now bringing to light all of their secrets, how they lure you in and control every aspect of your life.
And Steve joins us live now from Los Angeles. Steve, welcome to Studio 10. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Just my face there. I was like, hi.
Good morning, thanks so much for having me.
Well, what should I say to sound like I do this all the time? Like, thank you for having me. Like, I'm just a guest on, news programs every day. But really, this was my first interview, was in Australia.
How exactly did they lure you into the religion?
Well, I was a new actor to Hollywood, and I was looking how to break into the industry. So I was reading one of the actor trade newspapers, and I saw an ad, how to break into the industry, how to get an agent, how to get a...
I look so different there than I do now, and I feel like I was so much more like tan or something. I don't know.
Manager. And those were all things I wanted to know how to do as a new actor coming to Hollywood. So they got me to come into the Scientology Celebrity Center, and it was a bait and switch for Scientology recruitment.
And that just reminds me that I need to write to the people at Backstage Newspaper, on Actors Access, all these things. Like, I want to kind of get some actors together to be able to stop them from being able to do what they did to me by running these ads that appeal to people who are in the early stages of whether their career, their life, or they're new to LA and they end up at Celebrity Center. So I'm actually working on preventing that right now, just so you guys have a little key into what's going to happen in the future. Hopefully those ads are going to get shut down.
What do Scientologists actually believe in? Because they're very secretive about this, but it's all about aliens and someone called Xenu
and you see how they do, it's always Xenu, aliens, and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, there's like a small component of that. And it's always hard just to answer that in one question, whether it was here on the show or even on my channel, or people just ask me in general, like, what is Scientology about? It's really hard just to give one answer. It's not like they are as simple as they believe in Jesus Christ, rose from the dead, like whatever it was. Like, it's not that simple to explain. I don't know, religion's really easy to explain in like one sort of sentence, but Scientology has all these different levels of what members know and learn about, and the Bridge to Total Freedom, and auditing, and Dianetics, and LRH's life. Just like, there's so much to it that it's very hard just to say in one sentence. It's about self-help. I mean, I guess you can kind of say that, but there's just so many different aspects to it, so it's very hard to concisely answer that type of question. I don't even remember what I said. We'll find out.
crazy stuff about the colour spectrum that you've got to go through until you achieve pure white light or whatever. Just take us through some of the basics.
Right. Well, it starts off as self-improvement. They have courses on pretty much anything from how to get motivated in life to how to solve financial problems. So they figure out what's wrong with you. So for me, I wanted to be an actor in...
And that was the guy that got me into the workshops. How funny that they used this industry seminar thing, because that Gino Montesinos, he's the one who got me into Scientology. This was the exact... I don't think I sent this to them, but the breaking into the industry, Gino Montesinos, they have the date of the seminar, and this is what they used to recruit me into Scientology, and this was the guy who did so.
You know...
Funny how they coincidentally used this, because I don't think I sent them anything, pictures or anything for this interview.
You know, you go through like rough times trying to,
interesting.
You know, when you're auditioning and stuff, and they're like, well, we can give you self-confidence. And then, you know, they start telling you about their beliefs. So one of their main thing is what's called the reactive mind. And the reactive mind is what holds you back in life. It stores your fears, your pains, your upsets. And they say, well, you can go through a process called auditing to get rid of this part of the mind.
Yeah, it sounds like you're...
Basically, yeah, like what I was explaining there, it starts as that self-help. We can help you in the early stages of your career, for example. We can help you, build tools and money management. And it just sounds like a group of people that have like these courses in the self-improvement sort of way of handling your problems, and we're all, you know, have gone through these courses and we've gotten help through them. And it starts off like that, and you think like, wow, these people are like my friends, and it starts off seeming pretty cool. And then you start going more and more into Scientology to where eventually, yeah, you do reach the upper levels of Xenu and all the other sort of space opera sort of things that you hear about like in the news. But you don't get to that for maybe 10, 15, 20 years after you spend about, you know, $750,000. So you have to put that in perspective. The average person, and 80% of the people in Scientology don't know about Xenu. They don't know about that level of Scientology yet, because they only know about the early stages of the self-help stuff.
It's brainwashing and manipulative to such vulnerable people like yourself wanting to be an actor in Hollywood.
I did some
Can I ask, I noticed you ended up donating over your 4 years $50,000.
And that is the commanding officer of Celebrity Center, and that was my certificate for a program I did.
Did they ever mention what would happen if you didn't have any money to donate to their wonderful church?
And why did she word it like that? Their wonderful church? Like, clearly the way she was saying it too, it's like, maybe be a little bit more sarcastic, maybe, or something like that. She makes it like, oh, this wonderful group, like as I'm talking about how they stole all my money, and it was a traumatic experience for me.
You need to have money to be a Scientologist, regardless of what they want to tell you. I was locked in rooms with these, they're salespeople, registrars. They lock me in the room and they say, okay, we're going to do whatever it takes to get this money. You know, they all start applying for credit cards on my behalf. There were like 5 of them in the room. And they say, well, we have people higher up in American Express and other financial institutions who can underwrite and approve this loan for you. Even though if you're not qualified, we can get you the money.
I just don't know why no one's ever done anything about that. Like, I've exposed this in many videos, in my movie, I've told many different news or other people, and I don't know how to start some investigation into American Express or these other banks. I wonder why, because it doesn't just happen to me, it's happened to many people. I wonder why no one's ever done a, you know, real investigation into the financial crimes of Scientology.
Or they'll say, no, do you have any investments? Do you have any gold bullion?
Is this, Steve, sorry to interrupt, when you went, okay, there's something seriously wrong here, I've got to get out? Was that the moment?
No, I just want to be in and have them take all my money, and yeah, of course, you know, you have doubts and things, and you know, get all this pressure put on you to donate money and do all this sort of stuff, but it doesn't really hit you that it's criminal until you're involved for a while and you start to see different things unfold. You may think, well, they really just want the money so they can, you know, bring Scientology to different countries or build a bigger church or other things, and you think it's innocent in the time because they say if we have a bigger church we can service more people and get more people auditing, and you actually think it's going to create this big boom of Dianetics, for example. So in the beginning you may think like, oh yeah, there is some financial pressure, but until you actually see it for what it really is and you're actually involved for some time and you see what Scientology is actually about, that's when you start saying, okay, I need to get out of here. But then maybe at that point all your friends and family members are involved, and then it's like a different sort of act you have to play to be able to know how to get out of the circumstance that is Scientology and the different policies and different things that are used to control their members. And by that point it's usually too late to just walk out the door and not experience some form of a repercussion.
You know, that's the thing. You're on these programs and they're brainwashing and they have mind control and they have traps in there. Of course, I said, well, they're asking me for all this money. Something's not right. But, you know, it took a little bit longer for me to start waking up because you can't read the internet. You can't read the newspaper as a Scientologist.
Sorry, I was looking at my eyebrows. Okay, I have to pay attention.
So they kind of like keep you in this sort of, closed world. Right, they keep you in this bubble.
How long were you?
It's almost like I was just talking and interviewing myself right there. That she has like the, let's really figure out what this kid's about.
You remember?
I was a member for 4 years.
And Stephen, it's really interesting listening to you talk about this and how they managed to sort of remove you from the rest of the outside world. I've had just a tiny experience with Scientology in terms of when my husband went to interview someone who was involved with Scientology, he had to go through a sort of an education course and then was taken through a psychiatry museum.
Who was that someone?
That was Tom Cruise.
Oh, right.
And then at the end of that process, because my mother has a mental illness, and I understand that Scientologists don't believe in psychiatry, and Peter was grilled about my mother. So it was really quite, frightening, I suppose.
What am I supposed to say about that? Like, yeah, it was frightening. But that's what Scientology does, especially with the press. They try to maneuver themselves in a way to give, like she's saying here, they'll give you resources and materials and show you, like, look at all the things they're doing around the world. So then the reporter, the journalist feels like, hey, I can't start attacking Tom Cruise. He's sitting in front of me. I got this interview. They'll say, I'll never interview him or any other person who's represented by his publicist or whatever. And they'll try to control the press and say, you can't ask certain questions about Scientology. Like, we have to approve the questions. And that's what happens with journalists, and then they get kind of sucked in, and then you have Tom Cruise sitting in front of you, and these people, just like any other person, may feel like, oh, like, I don't want to, offend, because that's what you think, more than, oh, I don't want to ask about Scientology. It's like, you don't want to offend the person sitting in front of you, rightfully so, even if you may have a challenging question you want to ask the person. Sometimes it's not as easy, and especially with Scientology, they have all their press people there, they can shut down an interview right away, but how often have we seen Scientology do interviews in recent times? You don't see any, like the Tommy Davises and those sort of people. You don't see them. Monique Yingling, she's done, appearance or two on the news about Ron Miscavige, but that was it,
Oh, right, yeah, they are completely anti-psychiatry, anti-medicine. So say, for example, if you have a headache, you can't take a Tylenol for it because they believe the Tylenol just suppresses the headache. And the processes of going, through auditing are the ways to get rid of, all your illnesses, because they believe all
And that's how you become reliant on Scientology, because then you don't have a source to be able to handle a headache. Or if you're sick or something's happening, you have to rely on Scientology as the answer. So then you get even more involved, like, oh, I have a headache, I need to get auditing.
illnesses are psychosomatic. It's caused by the mind.
So I guess the question we have to ask is, how did you get out after being controlled and brainwashed for 4 years? How do you walk away from what many people call a cult?
Right, well, it took a really long time. They would call me up to 40 times a day on my phone when I stopped showing up to the church. And I actually had to move out of my apartment. I had to go somewhere else. They were showing up, to my house, to my job.
Yeah, Jeff would have to answer the phone in different voices to try to get them to think that I didn't have my... Because I don't want to change my number, because a lot of people have my number. Eventually I had to change my phone number, but that's the thing that became difficult for me, was that I had to remove myself from the world of Scientology, and if that meant moving in with Jeff or changing my phone number or whatever, I had to kind of have like a new beginning, so to speak.
It was just, I had to actually physically remove myself from where I used to live.
And Stephen, why is it that so many actors, people would not have heard of this crazy cult were it not for the fact that so many high-powered millionaire actors just gravitate towards it like moths to a flame? Why is it? I mean, is there a particular type of narcissism that it attracts? Is it that you can buy your way to enlightenment?
Insecurity?
Yeah.
Well, to the degree where you're improving on yourself, if that's considered narcissism, and you can unleash your godlike qualities by, becoming more powerful as a person to some degree. And I also feel that actors, they have a celebrity center, they're treated as like a special breed of human, for example. So yeah, of course, celebrities may gravitate towards the idea of Scientology.
L. Ron Hubbard really praised artists. He loved actors, and when you go into the celebrity center, actors are just, they're people who,
they're easily malleable.
You need help in life. You need help in life, and you're trying to break into the entertainment industry, and they're promising you the answers. They say, just be a Scientologist, and we have the connections. We can make you a star if you just, be a Scientologist and you help promote our message.
Is that why Tom Cruise is a star?
I'm not,
how am I supposed to know that?
I'm not sure exactly if that's the reason or not, but they have connections, and,
They've helped him
they help.
you converted him all those years ago? I'm not sure. But Steve, Megan, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for sharing the story. Thanks so much for having me.
You're like, okay, we're done with you. But yeah, in all reality, I do think that being able to go on TV and talk about Scientology, or making YouTube videos, this is what is going to take down Scientology in our new age. You know, back in the day, just as I'm thinking about it, you may have a newspaper, you know, article about Scientology, but then you're never going to see it again, you know, unless you go to the library and you dig up archives of different things. But here, you know, you can watch this video from Australia in 2017 or 2018 or whatever in the future, as long as it's still up on YouTube. But, you know, there's news articles and other things, and that's why I think it's so important that people continue to speak out about Scientology and spread videos like this to their friends or on their Facebook feed, whatever, so others know that Scientology is a very dangerous organization to be a part of. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe down below, as well as turn on your bell notifications. That's going to notify you when I make a new video, so you won't miss any upcoming news about the Church of Scientology. I have a lot of guests and other people coming on my channel, so to make sure you don't miss that, click the subscribe button down below. Also, we're having a sale on suppressive merchandise. If you go to suppressivemerchandise.com, there's a discount code right over here. If you use that, you'll get 20% off at Suppressive Merchandise. So get yourself a Suppressive Person t-shirt, a Do I Look Brainwashed to You t-shirt, a Marty Rathbun Squirrel Buster t-shirt, whatever shirt interests you, I have one down at suppressivemerchandise.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you do support videos such as this and you want to be able to contribute to my channel, you can go to patreon.com/StephenMango. Link is also down in the description box below. That'll help me be able to continue to make more videos exposing Scientology. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon.